Australian leaders are just as bad, excuse me.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
Okay. One thing, like I was telling someone, the reality of the generation of our mothers, that we are four siblings, and I was telling this person, I have a certain, I'm sure you can kill all of our four siblings, me and my brother and my two sisters, and all my mother could say is tumemwachia Mungu. So this to give you an idea of what you are dealing with in form of like our leaders. And there's a very good reason why in Africa, including Kenya, there will never be peaceful protest. It's because like the moment you have peaceful protest, it means like you are able to keep everyone on hashtag, which is very important. But we need also to realize there will always be sabotage by these politicians because the moment they are peaceful protest, it's a nightmare for them. And I agree with the lady who said we really need to push the one hashtag as the mother of everything and have like an itemized thing of what we need so that even if Caliph is going to talk on the radio, as long as he's highlighting some of our agendas, we are still on course. He's still giving the whole movement the momentum we need. The momentum will be there no matter someone proclaim self-leadership. So we really need that, like the mother, RUTO must go, and then we really need an itemized item of what we really need to achieve so that at least no matter the period it takes, we already have a clear plan. So if you go and talk on radio, at least they will always, as long as they are talking within the documentation, we come as a space together. At least that will give us momentum to keep going. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you. We hear you. Lady
I'm going to
Mary
go now,
or
please,
Vincent?
because I've been
Okay.
waiting for quite a while, if that's okay.
Oh, it's okay. Sorry for
No,
that.
that's fine. And I'm sorry to interrupt. I think it was Vincent who wanted to speak. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I realized if I didn't jump in. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. And I hope you can hear me clearly, because just let me know if you can't. Na in a drop ikikuja.
We can hear
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Don't worry.
First, I really want to just, my utmost and deepest sincere condolences to the, family, friends, loved ones of our fallen heroes. I think it's really important we hold space for them. So just wanted to put that out there. And also the people in hospital, those who are still nursing injuries, some minor, some major. I mean, those families are also very affected. So just wanted to really, my heart goes out to them. But I'll focus on giving some practical suggestions that I've been thinking about throughout this week in line with the topic of this space, which is about the way forward, especially after losing our heroes, our fallen heroes. So first of all, I think one thing we're alluding to in many ways is that we need to keep these people in our collective consciousness. What do I mean? Kenyans tunakwanga na shida ya kusahau sana. And that's why every election year, we regurgitate the same old bad politicians. And so if we don't keep these people's names, faces, images in people's collective consciousness, very soon they might be forgotten. And there are practical ways we can do that. Some people have suggested a vigil. I think that's a good idea. I saw a poster of like activities or actions for the next week. I think there was one around printing their images and posting them like all around, whether it's in the streets or whatever. I really agree with that kind of idea. Let's tweet and retweet their names, their images, use the hashtag, say their names, that kind of thing. I've been doing that a lot. That, say their names, hashtag lest we forget, hashtag say their names. Because I just think otherwise, I mean, even these churches, this thing of occupying churches, I think one thing we can compel churches to do, hold minutes of silence for them, and not just minutes of silence. As that is happening, those screens zenye zinakwanga kwa church zikionyesha hymn number, sijui the hymn, sijui what, let them be showing images of our fallen heroes so that this thing remains in our collective consciousness. We don't forget, because this will be something that will now also push us. And just to remember, like, blood was spilled. people were lost, people died. Let's keep that in our consciousness. But and that's that. Number two, and I will respond to, there's a gentleman who spoke, and I completely hear where he was coming from. Like, people have died. Why aren't people angry enough? Why is the energy going down? Really hear you. I also hear you when you say we should keep relenting. I really hear that. But the truth is this. If you look at movements that have existed long before us, for example, the anti-racism movements, or those kinds of things, healing and restoration goes hand in hand with activism. Why? Because activism is tiring, and we are humans. People get depleted. People's energies get depleted. Right now, in addition to just the general depletion of energy, there's so much heaviness in people's hearts, heartbreak, pain, anger. And when I came into the space, there was a lady saying, how she's been a mental wreck. People's mental health has been affected. People cannot give what they don't have. Self-care is important, and also about our self-care. So my challenge at organizing these spaces, and Maze, kudos to you guys, you've been doing such a great job, is can we also be holding spaces, regular spaces for healing and restoration? And there are frameworks that already exists, like healing justice frameworks, what, it's not my area of expertise, but I know movements that have gone before us have frameworks just with this kind of healing and restoration we replenished, because this is not a sprint, it's a marathon. We need our energy to be sustained, but it will not be sustained if it's all the time rage. People must give, people must be angry, because we are human. Guys will get depleted, and that's just a fact. So please, Akina Kimuzi and company, I hope I said your name correct, but let's please just try and organize some spaces that focus on not even venting. We know the problems, and we can have spaces for venting and reiterating the problem, but let's also just have spaces that are about holding space for our healing and restoration. And by the way, healing, restoration, and rest is also a form of resistance. Let's not forget that. That is also resistance. So we can be energetic so that we can, fight the long fight, basically. That was my second point. Third point, I think it's very important for us to have a very serious discussion about what next after RUTO. Fully on board with the thing of pushing RUTO must go, but and then, because what history has shown us from other movements, look at the Arab Spring, for example. If you don't have clear steps about what next, either the country will go into anarchy, or we will end up in a far worse position than we are in now, with worse leaders, more oppressive regimes, etc. And you see, mimi ninasema, the history is there. We can look at there. So I think even as we push the RUTO must go, we have to have very serious discussions about, and then, so that we don't find ourselves in the situations we've seen other countries in. Let's really think carefully and strategically. And there are people who can advise us. Like, we've got LSK. There are so many people who can advise us. Okay, in practice, tuseme Ruto resign hata kama ni next week, what does that really mean in practice? Like, what does that look like? How do we make sure our country doesn't degenerate into anarchy? How do we make sure we don't end up with another more oppressive regime? So we need to have serious discussions about what next after RUTO must go. And also, let's push. I really like this idea of pushing things like recalling our MPs, reconstitution of IEBC. Why hasn't IEBC been reconstituted mpaka wa leo? Kwa nini? Is it deliberate? And why? Can we also push those practical things? Reconstitute IEBC, recall your MPs, etc. It's okay for us to all be in agreement about RUTO must go. I'm not refusing, but there are other things we can do, like recalling our MPs, ensuring that IEBC is reconstituted soon. My second last point, to the ladies in the diaspora, completely hear you, and your anger is valid in many ways. However, let's not also romanticize leaders from the West. I have lived in those countries for a long time, nearly a decade. I've been back home for the last 15 years. The reason those leaders work well is because systems work. It's not because they're so righteous or they're so good or they're better people than our African leaders. It's because systems work. And they know they can't get away with some of the crap we see our leaders getting away with because huko hawezi. So si ati ni kwa sababu ni watu wazuri sana. So let's also push this narrative of let our systems work. If systems work, leaders will also behave well. If systems do not work, that is why they can get away with anything they want to get away with. It's not that those people are better human beings than us. They're not. They're just as corrupt. They're just as bad. But they know they can't get away with some of the crap that our leaders get away with. Finally, please, Wase, Jana, it broke my heart to see how well divide and conquer worked. let's maintain the unity. It is normal to have disagreements. Hata kwa familia, wacha ati kwa movement kwenye hata tujuani. Even with your families, your siblings, your spouses, your partners, you will disagree, you will argue. But no, it doesn't mean you throw them under the bus, sijui this, sijui what. No, please. Divide and conquer is one of the oldest tricks of the book or whatever you say. Even Wakoloni used it on us. And that's why we even have so many ethnic divisions in our country. Let us resist, divide and conquer. Let us stay united. We can disagree. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing, but let's not allow that to divide us. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I will now be quiet. Asante.
Hi, Kamuzu, may I speak now? May I speak?
Yes, please.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure, you can go on. All yet, you can be called till you build something a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Okay, no problem. I'll invite. Okay, sir.
There's a few things I'd like to discuss. One is to put this in a global context and in a global perspective. And the second, to get back on topic and propose a way forward that I've put on a Twitter comment of Kamuzu. So first, in terms of the global perspective, understand who is fucking us, okay? Now, I think people are becoming aware of the IMF. The IMF came out of 1944, out of the Bretton Woods Conference, where the US was playing a major role after World War II. The IMF, the largest shareholder of the IMF is the US and the World Bank, right? They own both of them pretty much. So the policies that they come out of there are basically from the US military industrial complex, okay? And this is where RUTO has been sucked in and is an agent of destruction for them. Now, another thing that's important about the global perspective is that the US is done. They are cooked, they are finished. BRICS will destroy them. BRICS, once they go off the petrodollar, the US is fucked beyond all recognition and they know it. And that's why they're either going to go nuclear and push World War III, or they're going to have to back down, admit their corruption, admit their mistakes. They've killed 20 million people since World War II. They've destroyed 35 countries. You know, let's not make Kenya next. Okay, so let's hold that perspective. Now, in terms of the people from the diaspora that have spoken, the Westminster system is screwed. I was born in Australia, okay, and the worst is corrupt, if not worse. You have an MP like Daniel Andrews that earns $150,000 a year, and somehow, at the end of his career, leaves politics and is worth over $100 million. Okay, they're just as bad, if not worse, because they hide it much better. Now, in terms of the way forward, I mentioned the Westminster system is screwed all around the world. Okay? What we need is to fully decentralize government. And what I mean by that, we should have direct democracy, the same system as, say, Switzerland has. Citizens vote on every major decision, and there's no need for so many representatives. We should have decentralized decision making. It should be distributed across the local councils. There's 47 counties, and we should reduce the size of the federal system. Everything needs to be on blockchain technology. Parent, it's immutable and it's decentralized. So all votes are recorded. Every law and every government action needs to be on the blockchain, so it's publicly visible. The whole system needs to be run by smart contracts to automate all the execution of government functions and services. What I'm discussing is a new paradigm. The old paradigm does not work. We need community governments, we need accountability, and we need to remove corruption. So what I'm proposing is that I'm in the blockchain industry. I've been in IT for 25 years. I've probably built most of the systems stop doing that because I know exactly how corrupt they are because their databases are on my systems. And I've changed my ways. I'm not helping these fuckers anymore. And I've moved to a decentralized world and I'm working to do things like that at the moment. Now, what I'm proposing is if you're a crypto guy, if you're an IT guy, if you're a lawyer, if you're a policy writer, please comment on my Twitter. I suggest that we put forward a Twitter space to get some policies together to redesign the framework. The world that this can happen is Kenya. Why? Demographic we have, the population is between 90 and 30, and they understand the technology. The technology is available. It's now out of it for decades, and it's easily implemented. It will take time. But I mean, by the time RUTO gets out, and hopefully it gets out tomorrow, but it looks as though it may be 2027, we can put forward these systems and as a group, with no leader, introduce accountability via technology that can never be corrupted, and we can design this framework together. So please join me. I'm willing to spend as much time as I can to facilitate it. And I know that there's plenty of people in Kenya that have the capability. It's very simple to implement, and I want to do this. I want to create a decentralized voting system. We need to implement these smart contracts and design this framework. It's not hard. That's a piece that I would like to be involved in terms of facilitating it. And there's many other pieces. The protests and the other stuff maybe it doesn't need to stop. I don't want to see anybody hurt. But this whole thing needs to be tackled on different levels. You are young, you're agile. Do not fall. Even if we get new leaders into Kenya, in this framework, in this current Westminster system, they will do exactly the same fucking thing. It's happening all over the world. Let Kenya be the Wakanda. Let us lead the world in how a system of government can be put on chain and held accountable at every fucking level. I'm sick. I'm tired. I'm a 54-year-old man that has watched the West fail. It is gone. It is shot. They're all coming after Kenya and Africa because China's getting too expensive. Southeast Asia's getting too expensive. And they want you to remain poor. Okay? Let's not fucking make it happen and turn it on its head. Let's build these decentralized systems, a new form of government. Let's work together to, it can be done. Forums like this, we can have 10 or 15 different forums tackling different angles. We come back together and we say, you know what, this is the form of government that we want.
Thank you. So first, a moment of silence back home, full of pain, and they're angry about the betrayal from the same government that vows to protect them, to protect us. And to those forced to hide and flee home,